Welcome to Life in the Music Business, a masterclass with Professor Pooch and your host, BACEFACE.
I think something that we could talk about today that would be really cool, actually, how to get it's something along the lines of how to get your music placed, or how to place songs or artists, or how to build those connections so that you can do all those things. And
Well, the weird part is, this is going to sound like a cop out, but it's the truth. The truth of the matter is, no matter what you do, you got to do it yourself nowadays. You got to put the stuff out there. If you're not an artist, find somebody who is, and get this stuff out and push it like that. Because you got to get the product done, first of all, no matter what, anyway. But to get heard is just get people talking about it. You just never know who's going to hear it. Do you know how many songs that somebody heard on SoundCloud and stuff, just listening to different people's pages? They go around listening to this stuff. You got to get it up there, of course.
yeah,
But the idea that as many places you could put it, you just never know.
yeah,
And I mean, I've been finding some interesting things out too lately. Is that I'm running into artists as clients, and their music is different. And when I mean different, it's no, some of it's like you could picture the 40s or 50s, like in a country town or this or that. That kind of songs are good too. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Uh, they come in handy. Now, this guy, I mean, he's been around for a while, and he plays all over the place. He's got a great shtick. Well, I'll tell you, shtick is that one of his old time terms for the way they do entertainment, who they are, how they stand out. He goes around with this pop up tent, like trailer, not a tent, a trailer, but it's like a tent on a trailer, and he shows up places and just starts performing and does all kinds of things like that. And it's just like him. And he's, by the way, he's the guy we were talking about, one of the last shows, where what he does is uh, he does a whole album, and it's all featured artists are doing either an instrument with him, or they're doing vocals with him, or they're doing vocals, he's doing vocals, and every song's with a different person who he happens to know that fits a certain kinds of thing. It's things like that. And by the way, a lot of people don't think about this, is that when like a lot of people want to write themselves and stuff, write their own songs and stuff. And this happens a lot, uh, where I personally like to write myself by myself, but I also love to co-write, because when you co-write, you get all different kinds of, that person might know a lot of people,
yeah,
things like that. And another reason I like to, from the musical side, why I like to co-write, is because I might be one style, they might be another style, and the two together could be a totally different fusion.
mm.
And we're already into the show, so take it away, Baseface.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to Life in the Music Business with Professor Pooch. Pooch, how are you hanging on the other line here?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We already started talking. That happens to us. We're, things like that. We're talking. We're in the music
So
business.
interesting, because
Huh?
everything that we do is we live life in the music business. So it's always like we inadvertently start the show without even trying to start the show. It just like happens.
Yeah, it happens. Actually, it happens all the time that we actually start talking about the music business and things we're running into, different situations, and that's life in the music business more than going on a particular topic. Then what we were starting to talk about, um, well, if you want to address it, but it's like people, how to get the songs out there and in different places. And where we had started leaning on before the intro here is, for TV, film, and things like that. And if the music isn't set for it, you got a problem. in just placing it. You know what I should do? Let me state the 3 things that are very important to a music supervisor listening for a song, for a TV, film, stuff like, video games or whatever. Oh, and besides, always remember, do a vocal if it's a vocal song. And make sure when you're at that final mix to also do a instrumental version without the lead vocal. I mean, right then and there, the engineer's not going to mind giving you a copy of that. Now, if you ask them 3 weeks later to come back and switch everything around, well, they might charge you something for that. But just remember, every time you do one with the vocal, do one without. And actually, there are some engineers. By the way, Mike does this. He'll do 16 or 20 different types of mixes nowadays. There's the television mix, there's the single mix, there's the video mix, there's a film that to be this for that or whatever they need, Yeah. It's funny. Usually they do at least 5 or 6 different mixes for any kind of situation.
Yeah, it's crazy because every single platform has a different way that it could be perceived by the audience. Like, obviously on TV and film, you want the vocal to be up front, and if somebody's
Yes.
performing, you want the main vocal to be super low. If you want the radio mix, you make sure it's like, you know what I mean? It's everything has a certain place, and that's why they do that.
By the way, one thing to remind, I still didn't answer that thing I was going to say, but one thing to keep in mind, they want songs to stop dead. Don't fade them out. That's what they used to do in the old days. It sounds funny, the old days. But originally, they would just fade it and get quieter and quieter and quieter, which of course you can't do on stage anyway. But the music supervisors like it to stop dead. Now, what else do they want? They want to know, and this, if you do a music page for people like this is what they want. They want the whole hook, whatever the hook is. It could be a sentence or it could be a paragraph. They want the genre of the song, but not just the genre it actually is in, but what genre could it be in? Because remember, I'm telling you, a great song can be arranged in almost any style. Country can always be R&B, and R&B can always be country.
Mm-hmm.
It's roots, the same roots. They come from the same places, whether they came from the city or the country. That's all. But it's, I'm kidding. But the idea is that, but they want to know that genre, the whole hook. By the way, what I do, I put the whole damn lyrics, and I've seen other people do that on their YouTubes. They put all the lyrics, even prose, a lot of prose, in the description box under your screen of the picture of the video on YouTube, like stations and networks, platforms. In the description box, they'll say, and they're starting to list the writers. I'm very happy about that. I personally, when I put music up, I list everybody. And by the way, that can help you, and I'll get into that. Remind me, I list the producer, the engineer, the mix engineer if it's a separate one, mastering engineer if it's a separate one. Every musician. I list every background singer. I list the writer. Of course, what you'll see under most music things, you'll see the list of who the publishing company or companies are, and the record label and things like that, the actual legal stuff and stuff. But I believe in that heavily. Now, it was reminded, what I wanted you to remind me, I remembered, is that it really helps sometimes if you sometimes pay a little extra and get somebody else. I guess I'm going a little off topic, but it's not. It's great when you can say a mix engineer that's got a bunch of awards, and the person that maybe did the track or producer has had a lot of hits. I mean, that always helps to list. So you want to list any name you can help you, because these are people that when somebody say, oh, it must be good, I'll at least give it a listen, These things are helpful, and it's cost, like one of my artists, it's cost them a little money to get the extra stuff done and the big, you know, tracks can get very expensive when it's a well-known tracks producer.
Yeah, and it's
But
I've actually seen a lot of people do that where they use somebody's like their credibility to be able to push the record even more because it's like, oh, well, they went to this guy to mix it, so we know that the mix is going to be there. We don't have to critique that. We can actually listen to the song.
yep, and you know, one of our friends, well, I could name him because he's well known and stuff. It's not whatever, but it's Mike Tarsha. He was from the Sigma Sound, the sound of Philadelphia that was very big through all the years and stuff. His father, Joe Tarsha, started the whole Sigma Sound recording studio stuff, but it was tied with the Gamble and Huff stable and the whole sound of Philadelphia. And along the way, Mike has gotten like, what, 25, 30 platinum, gold platinum, you know, as a mix engineer, or as a this, is that, or whatever. But that helps when somebody sees, oh, they're willing to go the extra mile.
Mm.
Now, folks, which brings up an important topic, and that is, let's say you want one of these type people, but you can't afford them. Well, there's several ways to go around this, and I've seen it where people will exchange services. Even top people need help in certain areas. I remember Mike needed some stuff carried out of his basement. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, I said, boy, this stuff's good. I really want to do it, but I got to get, you know, how am I going to work? Oh, wait, I got all this shit down in the basement. I need cleared out and help me to paint this. And hey, everybody needs those kinds of services.
Exactly. So you're able to barter and actually get
Yeah,
that, you know what I mean? Get a better price.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and sometimes if somebody really believes in you, studios, I've seen studios do this a lot through the years. If they really believe in you and they have some empty time, now studios don't want to have empty time. That's the worst thing in the world. So if they don't have a paying customer, well, you should do something with that extra time. And if you really believe in an artist, you just make a pact with them, pact with them that, okay, well, you can state, first of all, we're the record company till you pay us off. Or they might do a thing as, we know you're good, we know you're going to be picked up, or we'll help you get picked up and stuff. And you got to promise to do the next album with us. And also, oh God, this is so important for all engineers. They don't do this. Every single person who is an engineer in their house, in a studio, whatever, this is so important. Keep a track, a list of how many hours you spend on a particular song.
Mm.
Not on a particular artist, because it might be multiple songs, not on a project. Each song. It is so important because that's a master, folks. And it could be worth a lot of money. And you can, as the engineer, I've seen this all the time. Well, we spent, you know, the major wants to buy this track for some reason or whatever. All right, you're going to pay for this track. And this track took me 7 hours and one for the vocal and then this, and the final mix. Oh, a total of 12 hours at the rate of, you know, whatever amount hour you would have charged.
Yes. And when it goes to a label, you definitely want to be charging more because they will pay.
That's right. That's a little secret that happens
Oh.
all the time. When a major, they automatically, the price goes up. It wasn't 65 an hour at that point. It was 125 or 150 or more per hour.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly.
but I keep telling you, I can't, how many times people go to studios that I've done there, like the contract work or whatever, and they're not keeping track by the song. And by the way, if you do a remix of it or something else, count those hours, but keep it separate list. A remix to this. You can put the two together if it's one off the other, you know, whatever. But it's really important. Keep those tracks. Everything is worth money.
Yeah.
So to go back, I want to see what I missed covering because you know how I go off. Well, it's life in the music business. These are we don't live topics, we live situations we run into,
Okay.
you know.
100%.
It's real life, folks. You don't live by, okay, I'll have an artist development moment. You know, it doesn't work that way.
Nope.
Yeah, you're doing that, but you're taking into consideration these different things, the human aspect of the person, whatever,
Yeah. It's all situation based. I mean, you can never say anything's for certain. That's why the some of the curse words are standard. Like when you hear a standard contract, there's no such thing because every situation is different. Everybody's different, and most of the time no two situations are the same, exactly the same.
I have in my basement someplace, I'm not sure where anymore, because my basement is, my place, it's just
Mhm.
littered with stuff. My wife's a pop rat. It's well known, folks, okay? She collects everything, okay? So I have actually 65 different songwriter to publisher contracts that all say the name standard contract. They'll say standard songwriters agreement,
Wow.
and they're all different. Of course, they have some things similar. It's what's called boilerplate. There's certain pieces of legal stuff that's in every single one, like the state you're in, and that this is the entire agreement, so the other stuff doesn't count. There's certain things in every contract that has to be there to be legal. So the point is, yeah, you bring up a very good point, is that the word standard, what it might be is it might be that particular person or company's standard contract, or it's just a template. It's got to be fit to you and your situations. I've written, this is another important part about being an engineer in a studio. You're opening up a studio, let's say it's in your house. Even if it's in your house, you should have a contract, just a piece of paper for them to sign, basically that they're not going to destroy your house.
Yep.
Oh, man. I mean, I've written
Very important.
from 1 page or 2 pages, but some situations, because of where they are, like on estates, I'm saying it right, on estate stuff, I've written up to 7 or 8 pages for a client because about the alarm systems and this, and don't bring food and put it on the board. The worst I've ever seen is Coke, Coca-Cola, and any kind of cola, it's sticky, and hoagie oil. In Philadelphia, there's hoagie oil, folks.
Oh yeah. Lots of it too, especially if you
Yeah.
go really, really in the city.
Oh, yeah. And the point is that, somebody had Rick James's board. A friend of mine bought Rick James, is an old top musician from I guess it's the 80s, 70s, 80s. And he's got his board and he's out in California. He bought his board. They had to take it totally apart because all the stickiness from every little button and every little bit. Oh my God.
Just probably was a pain, honestly.
Yeah, but seriously, folks, do you want, oh boy, does this bring up a subject? But it's important. Um, do you want people roaming all over your apartment or home? What about if 5 people come in and 2 are in the studio and 3 are just roaming around, man? You're nuts. You want to, whoever the person is, there should be at least one person who takes responsibility. And it's just super important. Oh my God. First of all, you should limit how many people are coming to your session with you. This is not a time to party. This is a time to get stuff done that's very important to your career.
Especially now during quarantine too. I mean, I used to have sessions that would show up with like 15 people, and it would be a huge party. They'd be
They
getting
make it a
stuff done,
party,
but
yeah.
they would get some stuff done, but it would be a ginormous party. But at the end of the day, now because of quarantine and COVID and all this stuff, you have to even be more careful than we've ever been before in the history of mankind.
And you're putting it right. Yeah. You're back in Philly. I just
Yep.
realized I don't see the New York skyline.
Yep,
It
exactly.
was kind of cool looking though, with doing the show during the day one time when you saw it getting darker and darker.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah. This ain't a picture, folks. That's out the window, is what you're saying. But yeah, but seriously, if you're opening a studio, have a piece of paper that somebody at least will take it seriously. You don't want any food around things. If, let's say, what about if somebody breaks any of your equipment? What about, use your imagination. You're creative people. That's why you're in this business. Use your imagination. And how could they screw up your place?
There's many different ways, especially when certain things are involved. I mean, drinks and alcohol and ash and
Well, hey, I
and
had one place, they wanted specifically no guns,
yeah, yeah,
no alcohol, no guns, in the studio, no weed or other drugs in the studio. If you're plaster, we're kicking you out. I mean,
yeah.
it's
The
your
guns.
reputation. It's your place. You can get in trouble. It's your place.
Yeah, exactly. You have to treat it professional. It's not just a place to hang out. And I see a lot of studios that are like that. It's kind of just like a hangout spot. Do this. Like in my studio, people aren't allowed to smoke, and that's kind of frowned upon when you're working with the higher level clients. But it's I don't like my equipment getting messed up. You know what I mean? I don't want the smoke to be clogging up in it over time, and me have to go back and clean it because everybody's smoking in here, or the smell of just smoke on your clothes at all times. I mean, after a while, it's just
Well, what I also do in my place, it's on this side here, you can't see it. I have a negative ion generator. It's built into it's a combination air filter, a negative ion generator. What it does, it makes all the ions in the room. I'm not going to explain it because I don't even understand totally, but all the negative particles in the room, which are bad for you, like odor, germs, bacteria, all that stuff, it makes them stick together. And by weight, they fall down.
mm,
Now, what I have is a reason I like it, the negative ion generator. They got in a lot of clubs. You'll see these weird things in the air, and they make clickety noises sometimes. You got to turn it off, when you're doing any heavy work because it can get that way. But what it does is it can kill any smells, germs, bacteria if it's a good one. But what you want is a positive collector, negative ion generator that has a positive collector. Otherwise, you better put, oh, I learned this lesson. It's great, but if whatever it's sitting on, you better put a piece of paper underneath because it will become black.
oh
Just from all the dust and dirt and everything it's making fall down. That's how I know that thing works. But yeah, with smoking and stuff, that's why if people really want to smoke in my place, you know, fine. I just turn up the generator up higher. That's all. I can do that with the kind I have. But let's go back. But yeah, it's whatever's important to you. If it's cigarettes with you, you have that right to
yeah,
state that. You
yeah,
know, there's a lot of studios because I've been guilty of smoking. And what I do is I go outside.
exactly.
That's all.
Yeah, so
You
I
know,
direct a lot of my people to do, and I find it's just the easiest thing, because then there's less stuff getting in the way in the studio, and less mess to clean and all that type of stuff.
well, and also if you think about it, if you have 5 or 6 people smoking at once, God, man, my eyes would die. I mean, I was a smoker at the same point when I went into. They used to have trains. They have the smoking car, the non-smoking car. I always went in the non-smoking car because my eyes would go after a while. Your eyes start tearing and stuff like that. But with anything, even too much weed or whatever like that. And by the way, folks, here's a thing to think about. I have nothing against people smoking weed, as long as they don't abuse it. But the thing about smoking weed is, well, there's a bunch of things. But in regards to your doing your music, it does tire your ears out quicker. You will notice your ears will work harder in a way. It sounds funny, but it tires you quicker.
Yeah.
like that and
Yeah,
stuff
it
like
will, and it'll also change your perception on many things. So a lot of
that.
people say that it doesn't change anything that you do, and they're able to live their normal life. But you'll see that if you go from smoking all day every day to being completely sober, in a couple of weeks, you'll realize how different you can actually be over time. And the way I mean, it's happened to me before when I stopped for a while, but it's because like when you need your brain supposed to just operate the way it is, and then when you put these external stimulants in it, like say with the pot, for instance, then you need to be able to recover from that. But if you smoke day after day after day after day, it's almost like you never gave your body the break that it needed from that type of stuff, and it almost changes you in a way.
Yeah, if you get to the point where you rely on it, I mean, people that start the day smoking and smoke all day long at night, it's really not good. Actually, it's just too much on your body. Uh, I've been known to joke with me was always I was a cheap high. I would take one puff and I'd be fine for hours. And if people were smoking in the room, I didn't even have to take a puff. It's just I have this high metabolism. I'm lucky, I guess. They call you, you're a cheap high, man. Things like that. But hey, oh, it's so funny. When I used to teach at the Art Institute, they say, "Oh, Pooch, man, you do drugs. You do drugs, don't you?" And I say, "I'm from the '60s. Next question." Yeah, I smoked, but I'm not concerned about weed with people, but I am concerned about addictive drugs and abuse of addictive drugs because the reason I will never do addictive drugs is I don't want anything controlling me. I need to be in control. That's why I don't like flying on airplanes. I want to get out when I want to get out. You can't do it from 30,000 feet,
You're not.
I
You
prefer
try.
driving.
Yeah, you can definitely try, but you won't be successful. That's for sure, unless you have some type of special training or something along those lines.
Hey, you got a spare parachute?
Yeah, right. Get one of those squirrel suits and be flying through the air like a bird.
Oh boy, that might be fun at some time. I'll put that on my bucket list or
God
whatever.
bless. I would never do that.
No, I wouldn't either. I have no intention to. But yeah, folks, so important. If you're opening a studio, that's something to keep in mind. And you notice I said, well, you could maybe if they have extra hours, if you're the artist and they have extra hours and stuff like that, and they're willing to take you in. I mean, that's a great thing. And this is what I put to all studios, and I've said it to you, I'm sure, BaceFace. Uh, you can't just be a studio alone unless you know you're packed with the top clients paying ridiculous prices. Okay, if you can't rely on it. You got to get into publishing. You got to get into being an indie label. Look, I'm doing you for quote unquote free, but I own it. You're going to be signed to my label, and you know from here on, we'll deal with it from there. Okay, through the contract, of course, and stuff like that. But you need to have back to that. You'll hear me say often. Everybody needs multiple streams of income.
Mhm.
That's what I call it now. The real term is multiple sources of income. MSI. Learn that acronym.
Super, 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 super important, especially in this industry. Being a producer, engineer, you won't make money quickly. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Where you have to build your brand to the point where people can they know what they to expect from you, and they know that you have the special sauce per se, and otherwise you're just going to be. I totally lost my thought, but what was I talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, but yeah, you're right on. I mean, you got to have these multiple things. By the way to solve a lot of this, uh, go to professorpooch.com. In the top right hand corner, I think this is your right. I always have to remember, I always screw it up because it's backwards looking at the screen. Uh, Go to your right in the free library. There's a, there's a there's an article I wrote in text and audio about surviving. I forget the exact title, but surviving as a recording studio in the 21st century, and it brings up these different topics. boy, we're all over the place and it's good, but we'll tie everything into it too, because this is all very important. It's just the way it is. We started talking, believe it or not, the original subject was like placing songs and
Hmm.
things like that. But these are important things to do, is to know all that you're going to be dealing with everybody. You're the artist. You're going to be dealing with an engineer at some point in time. You know,
Right.
if you're a manager, you're going to be dealing with an artist. If you're, a manager's
Mhm.
going to might have to deal with the studio and something.
Yeah, and the reason multiple sources of income is because, like I said, you won't make money quickly in this game. But if you have multiple streams of income, while like say one part of your business or one stream is not doing as well, you have five more that are doing better, and you're never searching for money. You're not relying on one platform to pay everything. When you have multiple streams coming in, that's when you allow yourself the time freedom to do what you want to do, and that's the beauty of the MSI, the multiple streams.
Oh yeah, it's just like super important to stay alive. I mean, I know that every month, even if I don't promote it, I have my 7 books are on Amazon, and I get this. Not always a lot of money because I don't promote it, but I get money from the Kindle sales and this sales, and it eventually all adds up. You get money from this, from that. We're going to go into it, probably be in the next show because we don't have enough time to cover it. I call the topic meanwhile. In other words, on your way to the top of where your end goal is, you got to earn a living and you want to do it in the music industry and not work someplace else. But there are a lot of ways to make money if you're into music. But let's go back, placing songs and stuff. Now, one of the things you brought up about the voice hire, yes, in a TV and film, you if you listen to any of the shows, you can hear the lyrics and understand them. And we went into, I think, some of this on a previous show last year. I don't remember. They all run together. We have, at this point of this show, we have 28 shows already up. Okay, it's a nice number, but they definitely need the vocals understandable. I mean, I ran into this client. Her voice sounds amazing, but either she used the wrong microphone or it's the wrong reverb. They didn't EQ the reverb, whatever. I couldn't understand the words. And you can't fit it to a script if you're a TV, the music supervisor's got to fit your song to a script. I'd say they have to hear the words. The biggest problem is, and I probably mentioned it before, but like I warn people, we're going to repeat some things, but they're important things. And that is one of the biggest mistakes, especially why you shouldn't produce yourself. I don't produce myself, and I've been a producer and mixing and doing everything for many, many, many years. I always have a co-producer because you need somebody more objective than you are with your music, okay? But a lot of times, the vocalist and the engineer hear the words when they don't hear the words. They just have heard them so many times that in the mix, they might have the voice too low or too much reverb. Some people want to be really fancy with the reverb. Fine. But there's ways, if you're a good engineer, of still understanding what the words are and still having that effect you want. It's delays and things like that. Okay. But yeah, that's very important. Like you had brought up, and the original topic was, believe it or not, was, placing your songs and stuff. Now, also, there's the thing of, and I don't know if you meant this or not, but also, let's say you want somebody to cover your song,
Mm.
okay? To cover a song. And what I recommend is you do it in the style of a person. It depends. If you have a particular person, you want to only show them the songs are perfectly perfect for them. If you're just opening it up for people to hear it, you can have a little more variety of stuff. But yeah, you would want to aim it. If you have a demo singer that can do it in that sound or style of that artist, that really helps. Okay. I mean, my voice would never work on any cover. Some wanting to give song to somebody for any cover because I'm all over the place and I'm an ad libber, and it's just who I am. And just like with the show, is as you see, is totally unscripted, folks.
That's the part I enjoy the most, believe it or not, because it allows us to be us, and
Yeah,
you know
it's
what I mean?
real life.
Yeah.
We haven't written one line of anything in the 28 episodes.
Yeah.
It's just we come up, let's talk about this tonight. Or sometimes we just start talking about we think of talking about one subject and you'll say, BACEFACE will say, hey, how was your day today? And it goes into my clients doing this and that, and it's all over the place. And that's the whole show, But it's life in the music business. You get into situations and we're spelling them out. Now, did I go deep enough into the original subject, which I might be off of what was your exact question of getting
Like,
people to hear
yeah,
you?
like how to play songs, how to get in the room to be able to place the song with the artist, either get the song with the proper singer to pitch to an artist. And I mean, you covered the stuff that I was trying to cover. um and one of the things I can also mention as well is, like, there's many different good ways to be able to get in the room with the artist, because at the end of the day, you can send emails and try to send your beats to the email and reach A&Rs and all this stuff, but there's nothing that's going to be more effective than being in the room with that artist. So some things like
Oh,
going
I
to,
agree with you on that.
yeah.
Totally. And you also bring up a subject. This is, I'm going to tell you a true story that sounds unbelievable. This was in the 90s, and I was teaching at the Art Institute of Philadelphia. I taught entertainment law, music publishing, management, all that kinds of stuff. And this guy told me, I told people, don't just send your stuff to record companies. He sent out a ton to every major, every subsidiary, every single one of them came back. One, it took a year and a quarter.
Wow.
The reason is, folks, and usually when you get it back, you'll see the word unsolicited. Unsolicited means we didn't ask for this, because it's a shame, but it's the truth, folks. You can't just send something to somebody, just expecting, A&R or to this manager or this. You gotta have, first of all, the people, the major labels especially, and this goes back, God, to the 80s, the 90s. They're not going to listen to an artist, if the artist themselves sends something in. They want to hear it from either a well-known manager, a well-known producer, well-known entertainment lawyer, things like that. They're not going to listen to this stuff. It's called unsolicited. We didn't ask for it. And they give one good reason for it. And the one good reason is somebody could say down the road when when the label puts out a song, hey, I wrote that song. I sent it to them and they heard it. And, this
Yeah.
way.
That could be a lawsuit right there that can cost them
It
millions
is a
because they made
lawsuit
him.
right there.
Yeah. 100%. But I feel that there's many different ways to get into a room with an artist. One of them being working up the studio ranks, like picking a studio that's highly accredited, that is doing the things that you want to be doing, working with the artist you want to be working with, et cetera, et cetera. That's one way to do it. Networking itself and just getting
Oh,
out there, and that. I mean, unfortunately nowadays it's
that,
really
oh,
got
man.
stepped on, but the
Oh, yeah.
networking is still possible. Don't let anybody convince you that it's not, because Clubhouse and all these different platforms allow for audio chats and different ways of interacting and networking with people that isn't the traditional hand-to-hand interaction. So
But
you're gonna have to adapt, but it's still possible.
it's still a shame, though, that there's nothing like face-to-face networking. Nothing like it. I mean, I have to use Zoom and which we're using, or Facebook video or Skype or Microsoft Meeting, Google. I mean, I think I've been on them all doing
Yeah.
in different interview shows and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Anyway, but see, part of it is being alive and on the move. Like you're going to New York to work, you work at a certain studio in New York that we have to keep nameless because it only works with majors. But the idea is that, you know, but you're meeting people because you have the guts and you're not sitting home feeling sorry for yourself. You're going up there. And remember that saying I give you a lot of times, you know, making is 1/3 talent, 1/3 luck, 1/3 persistent. But if you're persistent, you have a better chance of being in the right place at the right time, which is making
You
your
know,
own
it's
mark.
funny too. And the truth is, even sometimes if I do feel like sobbing or whatever the hell and I'm having a bad day, I'm still going out there to New York. Like, I'll do it while I'm on the way to like building myself up. I don't just sit there and just be like, oh my God, the world is ending. Like, nah, we'll deal with the world is ending while I'm in the studio that I'm, you know what I mean? While I'm building
Hey,
my
if it
place.
ends, it ends. You can't do anything about it
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Because you're like, I've happened to me where I'm like, oh, I don't want to be here right now, but I'm there. You know what I mean? It's
We
not,
all go through that.
yeah,
My thing is to a person, when you get into any kind of negative thought pattern, two things. One, you got 5 minutes. Be upset, be mad. Your 5 minutes are up. Okay, let's focus on the solution, not the problem, kind of a thing.
yeah,
And that's my main one on that. Also, this is very important. And that is everybody. It's just your thoughts, your brain. It's the left side of your brain is a product of your whole life and a lot of negative bull. And sometimes from generation to generation, it's passed on in your RNA, DNA, or whatever they call that stuff. And it's passed on. And you have these negative thoughts. And they get in the way. They say, like, it could be, for example, you're not good enough for that. You can't do that. No, don't do that. You should be doing this. That kinds of stuff. It's up to you. How do you handle it? I have a way of handling it. But what you want to do is some people believe in the belief of just say to your, I said to myself, say to your, thank you for your input, but I'm busy right now. Okay.
yeah. It takes a
Uh,
lot. It takes a little bit to train yourself to do that. Believe
you
it
have
or
to
not.
catch yourself.
Yeah, you have to be able to be aware of it. But this actually brings us to a cool part that I want to bring up is that a lot of people that are watching this show right now don't even realize that I'm also a student on this show as well. So I've been working with Pooch a little bit longer than we have
Most.
been working on the show, but you guys also get to see my progression throughout this and what is possible with all the knowledge that Pooch has to offer.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's just if people say, "How do you know all this stuff?" Well, I'm older. I've lived it. I've experienced it.
Yeah,
That's all. And like I mentioned before, I could teach, and I told my students this. I could teach your ear to forever, but it can't replace actual experiencing it. And you're experiencing it instead of sitting home feeling sorry for yourself. So it all fits right together. Yes, and folks, I'm still learning, and I learned from BACEFACE. I learned from a lot of people because I can't be everywhere and have every single experience. He has experiences that maybe I don't have, for different reasons. I mean, there's the age difference of different people. Even though I work with God, I work with 9-year-olds. My client, within the last year, my clients have been anywhere from 9 years old to 73.
oh,
That's what's the great about the industry and technology. Nowadays, you can be any age, any style, any genre, and you could become successful because all you need is that niche. The United States, it's niche. British, it's niche. I think I got that right. That little group of people that are enough to support you in a weird way. My number usually is like 20,000 people. We've stated this before 20,000 people. You want 20,000 real fans. You don't need millions. 20,000 real fans who are willing to each spend $100 a year on you. That's $2 million, folks.
yeah, that's it. So keep
Yeah.
that in mind when you're sitting there and you're pouting and you're looking at all the things you don't have. Be grateful for what you have because believe me, when you look at the things that you're grateful for, then you'll actually be able to be grateful and not just be sitting here being upset
Great.
thinking yourself.
Actually, being grateful is actually very good for your brain and your whole system. It just makes you feel good because people focus on the bad stuff instead of the good stuff. I mean, I just think, hey, and people don't think of it this way. I mean, I'm lucky I have a nice wife and we're good friends, which helps in this. I put that on Facebook the other day, or the other day, I remember that, it's really important. And the virus makes it even more important that when you're living with somebody, make sure they're not only a love interest, but also your best friend. Because if you have to be around them for so many hours every day, and stuff like that, and understand you and you understand them and stuff like that.
Very, very important, especially in this industry.
Yeah. By the way, I was thinking, the negative thoughts. Yeah. The trick of collecting, you have to recognize the first step is recognizing the problem if you get a negative thought. My usual saying is, look, I'm busy right now. Find another victim. I put them down, get out of here. But sometimes, no, you shouldn't do that. Just say, look, I'm busy right now. Maybe we'll discuss this later.
Yeah. I know where to find you. I'll call you if I need you.
Yeah, I'll dig you up again. Yep. Oh, I presume this show has probably reached its limit. How's our time?
Yeah, we are over, but it's okay.
That's fine. Look, we'll continue this. Meanwhile, folks, tune in for the next episode and have a great one.
Thanks for watching. Tune in for the next episode.